It had been Sia's idea to come to the Shion temple in Kyoto, and Malcolm had resisted it at first. Even on the bullet train, it was a 3-hour trip, and over the past 2 weeks his time away from the office had become increasingly precious. Even since the career had thrown himself headlong into outstanding loan situation, Malcolm had been left to trade Nikkei futures by himself. Still fuming about what he perceived to be a betrayal on a career path, he threw himself into Nikkei with almost obsessive furor. He'd also raising the stake, increasing the size of his position to be almost frightening level. On some days he'd seem to count the ghost of Nick Leeson, trading so much Nikkei he was affecting the market as a whole. He hadn't even realized how hard he was hitting the exchange until one day when Carney had called him into his office. "Congratulations," Carney had said, and Malcolm had looked at him. "What for?" Malcolm had held up an account sheet black with Nikkei numbers. "At this moment you are the largest direct trade in Tokyo." Malcolm had almost lost his foot. He hadn't been sure whether Carney had been pleased with his performance or not, but it was quite a thought. At 24, he was the biggest player on the Nikkei. He wasn't making Carney-type money, but he was definitely turning heads on all Tokyo. In the business of cowboys, he was the fast becoming biggest gunslinger around. Still, he didn't change the fact that he was still only at ASC who hadn't brought something new to the table. He hadn't created a new avenues for profit, and still he always remained the bottom of ASC totem pole. At the moment, standing barefoot next to Saya on the balcony of the ancient Buddhist temple, his problem seemed very small. He had come so far in such short time. He was well on his way toward living his American dream. A beautiful apartment, money in the bank, his own motorcycle, and Saya. He ran his fingers through the silky hair down to the warm triangle of skin at the back of her neck. The softness reminded him the first time they made love, a heart-shaped bust of all places, and by the hour love outside of Roppongi. Malcolm's apartment hadn't been furnished yet, so Saya had taken him to the establishment. He explained that love hotels were as much as part of Japanese culture as sushi and samurai. Malcolm prepared for the 6th hour with his credit card, then together they had chosen the room. From brochure stable to the front desk, the room had been pretty much that what Malcolm expected: share carpet, mirror walls, velvet bedsheets, and satin curtains, and the raised plexiglass tub filled to the brim with pink-colored bubbles. Malcolm had felt a little awkward standing there in the middle of the room. They had been designed specifically to a place for high school girls to lose their virginity, and Saya had put him at ease, touching his lips with a finger and slowly going to work on the butt of your shirt. Репетитор по скайпу, Smart Teacher 197.